What's up, guys? Welcome back to my channel. I'm Justin Davis, and today the official DJI Digital FPV system is in the house. I have put it on various different aircraft, and we're going to test it on a fixed wing, we're going to test it on a 5-inch, and we're going to take it out there and let some other folks try it out and see what they think about it. And I'm finally going to give you my honest opinion on this digital system. My biggest fear was buying this for $800, and I was about to press the buy button the day that these came out because I couldn't stand it. I really wanted to see what this digital FPV system looked like because I knew that DJI had something really special here, but I had a million questions. I was one of the biggest skeptics out there. If you follow me on Facebook or you look in the forums, you see some of my posts, and I was going through every type of skepticism that I have about these goggles, and my biggest fear was latency and lag in this system causing a crash. That's been my biggest question about this set of goggles. Now they do kind of had quadversity on here, and they come with some stock dipole style antennas, 2 pointing up, 2 pointing down below on the bottom. That is their sort of classic look with these goggles. But the first thing you really need to do right out of the gate, guys, is just upgrade your antennas. Put a couple patch antennas on here and a couple right hand circular polarized antennas, and you'll be good to go. Your system will have less lag and less blur across the screen. This system is different than the way analog blurs out. It sort of gives us static on the screen, and we're used to that. Everybody's safe with that type of disruption in the feed. This is completely different, and you will have to get used to it. It's sort of a Minecraft pixelization across the front of the screen. They also have something on here called focus mode, where it will shift those blurry pixels out to the sides and bring it sort of vertical in vertical columns on each side. I turned that off because I found that to be a little bit distracting, and once I upgraded the antennas on here, I had way less blur and pixelization flying at proximity for freestyle, and I did fly at freestyle and on a long-range fixed-wing aircraft. So you're going to get to see two of those different types of tests today in this video. We're going to go full out on the airplane, and then we're going to do some hardcore freestyle. But this is the type of system that we've needed in our hobby since the very beginning. I have been doing DJI reviews since 2014. I was one of the original guys on YouTube helping people learn how to fly drones, doing tutorials, doing build videos, repair videos, hundreds and hundreds of DJI videos. So I'm very familiar with DJI components, the architecture, the framework, the way things go together, and I know these type of systems in and out. I was very skeptical about this system in the very beginning because of the price tag. I wanted to see that the performance was worth the price, and that is my biggest question about this system. Mainly because I'm afraid that you guys would spend the money on this system and then be disappointed by the amount of lag that's on here, and we wouldn't be able to do any freestyle. So I have to say in the very beginning of this review that my skepticism is now a lot less with this system. I would like to see it do better, of course, but I'm also very happy with where it's at. I feel like I can fly at proximity, and I can get away with the same type of stuff that I can with my analog setup in a proximity setting. But my overall impression about this system is that it is very good, and it's amazingly shocking when you put these on for the first time. This is the set of goggles that we've needed in our community for years to be able to get more people into our hobby. I would like to see that these were cheaper. If they were cheaper, it would be a little more groundbreaking because, again, we could grow our hobby even more. Because a lot of those DJI guys, they just complain about the analog systems and how pixelated and blurry our systems look. And I always have to explain that, well, it does look not quite as good as your Wi-Fi on your phone does with your Mavic Pro or whatever. But the thing that we need is a real-time view. So we're trading sort of resolution for that real-time view. Now today, finally, we're at the point where we're getting into an era of FPV where that is changing. We're able to get more of a real-time view and a higher resolution, an HD resolution. So in my opinion, these are very game-changing, and once you put these on for the first time and fly them, you will also have a very different opinion about what you might have thought about the DJI Digital FPV system. So I am still very skeptical on a lot of things about this system, and we're going to keep testing this coming through the months up into 2020, and I'm still going to do more reviews and more testing on this for you. We're going to do some build videos, and some more flight videos with these. Also, the bind and flies are coming, so iFlight and other companies are getting into it, and they're going to be releasing bind and flies out the yin yang. So there's going to be HD bind and flies coming up this fall, which is super spectacular and very exciting. Without further ado, let's go ahead and jump right into the first part of this review, the fixed wing DJI Digital Fpv System test. Let's go ahead and do some fixed wing flying with this on my long range, super gigantic Ranger. Here we go. Let's go ahead and start the fixed wing flight test. We're going to fly the Ranger 757 today with the air module on board. And after this little sketchy launch, we're going to get this fixed wing up in the air. My intuition first for you guys was to put this DJI digital system up in the air on a fixed wing where I had a nice high altitude, plenty of line of sight between the transmitter and the goggles so that I would get a nice clean signal back, and also hoping for the best experience for my first experience. I'm an airplane guy from way back, and I love long-range FPV as well, so I wanted to do something for that crowd. This is what the DVR looks like at 1080p at 60 frames per second on board. It looks quite spectacular here, but back to the goggles view. This is what you're going to see when you're up there. We have been wanting HD on a fixed wing, beautiful HD FPV for years, and finally something's here that I feel like we can work with. Now, I think that it's pretty good about a couple football fields out. After that, it starts to break up a little bit and get a little more choppy, but I think that with the right antennas and possibly even some type of amplified range extender in the future, we can really start to get some distance with this digital FPV system. But that's going to be a challenge for engineers. So let's get back to the flying right now. The HD goggles, up close and personal, they're great. I think that they're kind of a proximity flying system to maybe medium proximity. They're not what I would consider long range at all. You can see here at certain directions when I turn the plane left and right, it seems to lose some of the pixels in the center of the screen. It does push them out to the side, but it is distracting. Focus mode is on right now, and this is about as bad as it gets right here, which is not bad. And the DVR looks great, but anytime you're looking at the DVR, it's not representational of what the goggles are going to look like. The biggest thing about the goggles is that if you're looking in the goggles themselves, it's going to look a lot better than what you see here on the screen. Obviously, the screen inside the DJI goggles is actually really, really good. And my first impression was that when I put the goggles on, everything looks super clear, but mostly importantly, everything was in my field of view and everything was in focus. A lot of type of goggles out there have blurry edges because you can't see the focal distance from top to bottom, and the way that they have these spaced out, everything is in focus, which is kind of an amazing feat for a pair of box goggles. Traditionally, honestly, I'm not a huge box goggle fan and I don't like them, but I am getting used to these, and now I'm starting to actually kind of prefer these. This is the view on my fixed wing that I've wanted to see, an HD view, for quite some time, and I look forward to testing this more without focus mode being on, because I feel like it's gonna show less pixels left and right. It's just gonna spread them out across the screen a little bit. But I found in my freestyle testing coming up that you're gonna see that I actually had a little less breakup, I felt. I also upgraded the antennas. So this first test that you guys watched today with the fixed wing, this was with the stock antennas, and you saw it go probably about as bad as it got this whole entire time when I flew behind that line of evergreen trees right here. But let's go ahead now and let's bring this big airplane in and land it. We'll put it on the ground and we'll get to fly in some freestyle, and I'll show you how that worked out, and hopefully the test goes well. Here we go. Okay, now the time has come to do the Freestyle FPV test with the Flynoceros Skull V3. We're going to get the quad up in the air. You can see the DJI goggles view down in the bottom left and the DVR on the bottom right. And this was my biggest question, guys. Can I freestyle this quad without lag and feeling like I'm being held back? That is my conundrum here with these goggles. I did not want to spend $800, get this system all set up, build it on a quad, and then be super disappointed with the lag and feeling like I'm held back from what I like to try with freestyle. So for me, all of my anxieties seem to kind of have taken a back seat now that I'm used to this system. Once you get used to the pixel wash across the screen and you turn off that focus mode, I think it becomes a lot more like the traditional analog experience that you're used to. The blur and pixelization, you get used to it. Right here, lower to the ground, you're going to see more of that right here. And the lower you get to the ground, that happens with analog FPV too. You're going to get that breakup, it's going to go snowy on you, and sometimes you completely lose video. And honestly, as much as I worried about this system, all the anxieties and fears that I had about flying this, my analog systems are not completely perfect. How many times have you had an analog VTX burn up in the middle of the summer, or something just, a wire pops off or something gets fried? Analog VTXs are notoriously failing, so there are some good ones out there, but there are also some really bad ones as well, and a lot of it depends on the build. But let's go ahead and look at a cloudy day now, and this is what the system's going to look like from the goggles perspective. And hey, I can do power loops with this system too, and that's pretty ballsy for me because this is $170 sitting on this quad with my GoPro, and I'm still able to get some pretty nice freestyle going here. And by the way, I got to give a nod over to Flywoo, because Flywoo, you guys hooked me up with some killer motors, and I'll try to put those links down below too if you guys like those gold motors. These are running on a 6S system right now, and I think they were 1750 kV on this setup with around 55 amp ESCs. This quad is a total 6S beast, and it's still looking way better on a cloudy day, so I'm happy with that. This is, yeah, it's good. So on the sunny days, back to a sunny day, it's going to look like this. It's going to look completely awesome. And again, this is the view that we've all been wanting. I'm going to put it low down on this road and see if I can get it to actually look pretty good down that road. And I've flown down that road with you guys a lot here on the channel, so you guys have seen some breakup there with my analog video. Go back and check out some of my videos down that road and you'll see it. When I dip below that hill, this system actually did pretty good below the hill line. And now coming in a little bit closer back to home, a little bit of breakup again down low to the ground. You can see it clear up as I get a little bit of height, but overall all my anxieties seem to be washed away, and now I can continue on with the process of reviewing the DJI Digital Fpv System and not really worrying so much about the performance. So 25 milliwatt up to 700, you can max it out on 700, so I'm pretty happy with where I'm at with this system. And yeah, I'm definitely going to recommend it. If you spend the money on it, you're not going to hate it. You're actually going to like it. That's the scary thing. If you have the cash to get it, you're really going to like it. So that's the big deal, guys. It's really awesome. But that's the end of our flight test. So let's go ahead and give some final thoughts on this system. Alright guys, so that just about wraps it up for our video, and let's just go ahead and do some final thoughts about the DJI experience here. Now, I have to say that my first impression, like everyone else out there that has tried the DJI goggles, when you first put these goggles on, the first thing you're going to say is, wow, because of the resolution and the clarity that you're going to see when the quad is sitting on the ground. It's nothing like I've ever seen in FPV. And I have tried the original DJI goggles that came out years ago on my Mavic, and that was cool, but it has that sort of Wi-Fi feel to it. It does have a nice big broad screen, and probably the nicest thing about the DJI goggles versus my Fat Shark HDOs, I'm a huge binocular goggle style fan, and that's the type of goggles that I'd like to fly. I don't like traditional box goggles. I think the screens look too big, but the distance that they have these screens inside here and the way they have them set up, if you decide to wear glasses, you can put them on with these goggles underneath here, and the screens are far enough away that everything is in focus across the entire screen, top to bottom, left to right. So that's the biggest thing about this for me, is that even though it feels like your traditional box style goggles, everything is in focus. And the other thing is that in comparison to my Fat Shark HDOs, when I put these on, the screen looks gigantic. It does. It has that sort of box goggle feel, but it feels like you're looking at, say, like a small theater screen in like a living room type theater, a smaller theater screen, whereas the HDOs, they kind of look like you're looking at like a 40-inch flat screen. So we have sort of like 3 times the clarity, and we have a really nice bright and big screen, so you can really feel like you're sitting in the cockpit when you're flying. But my biggest fear was that you guys weren't going to like the goggles for the money. So now my fear is less now that I would have spent $800 and not liked what these goggles do, because performance was everything for me. I don't care what they look like. Other people say, oh, the other systems look like crap. I could care less what these systems look like. I want to see performance out of it, because if I can't freestyle with this system, then I really don't want it. I could care less. So now that I know that I can freestyle with it, and I can do some proximity freestyle, and I don't get a whole lot of breakup, that is what's really exciting about these goggles. So yes, you can freestyle them, and you can put them on a fixed wing and send it. So my first rating for these goggles, that has to be a pretty high rating at about a 4.9, and they are not perfect, so I can't rate them a 5.0. It is one of the most groundbreaking designs in our hobby in the last 3 years, but there are some issues that we have to address, and hopefully DJI will take this to heart. We need some OSD support, full OSD support in Betaflight across the board, to be able to do an overlay in the goggles, and the iNav community would also like to see some OSD incorporated into the DJI goggles. Very important for a lot of fixed wing and long range guys. Those guys want to fly these goggles, so DJI, please do that for the community. But thanks again for watching my honest reviews, guys. I'm Justin Davis. As always, take care, happy FPV, and no cheerleading. I'll see you on the next one.